All right, we've got a Woj bomb. Boston Celtics forward Jaylen Brown has agreed to a 4-year, $115 million contract extension. Agent Jason Glushin tells ESPN. Zach, are you surprised how much Brown got?
I'm curious to see if any of that is incentives or bonuses, or if it's really 115. If it's really 115, yes, I am surprised.
Because he turned down 80, right?
I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are that he turned down this and there. There's been a lot of reporting. I'm not sure how much of it is 100% locked in, but that is, when you consider the max is 4 years, 130, right? Mm-hmm. Pascal Siakam just got that. Right. I'm of the view of, like, why even go to 115 now? Just take him to free agency if it's going to be that.
My question is Jaylen Brown ready to be part of a team that goes back to where the Celtics were 2 years ago and not where they were last year? And how central is Jaylen Brown going to be to that?
You better be central now.
Yeah.
They just paid him a lot of money.
I think he is. I like Jaylen Brown.
I do too. I think last year was a very strange year for him. He started, then he came off the bench.
Yeah.
He started to find his rhythm in the last 2 or 3 months of the season. I think there's a really good player in there somewhere, but this is a star contract. And I thought after that conference finals run, he looked like a potential all-star player. Maybe not a perennial all-star player, but a guy who makes 3 or 4 in his career. He didn't look like that last year. It's a big year for him.
So Kemba Walker has a similar skill set to Kyrie Irving. He's a nicer person maybe to deal with in the locker room potentially for his teammates, potentially. In theory, that's what one would expect. Does that translate to any wins, though?
Probably. I think it probably translates to some. I mean, that locker room by the end of the year was a toxic place, and everyone came out and said that. That's not telling secrets. They said it themselves. And I do think, look, I was at half of that Boston-Milwaukee series, including the games in Boston where they lost. I don't remember seeing a team that was on paper really good implode unravel right in front of my face like that.
Well, how much do we attribute that? Let's be honest about this, to the now departed Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
I mean, he even said it in one of his many mea culpas. I'm looking at this. I don't want to give them a pass. And Brad Stevens has got to take a lot of the responsibility for this. There's many, many, many things that Brad Stevens does really well. Is confronting and managing those a couple of major egos and personalities. Is that something that Brad is going to be better at this season?
Well, he managed expectations great up until last year when that happened, Michael. And look, we talked about this, it's funny, a week or so on this show about Eric Spoelstra, right? Eric Spoelstra was Brad Stevens before Brad Stevens. Now, he had Dwayne Wade with him, which certainly helped.
That's a big deal.
No question. I think that helped. But then he was able to figure out managing those egos, right, with LeBron and him and Bosh. Brad, I mean, the jury's still out a little bit, no, because of that.
That's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah.
And so, what part of this is head coach? What part of this is star players? What part of this is addition by subtracting and sending, a couple of 100 miles away to Brooklyn, the player that you think was largely responsible for some of that toxic nature? I mean, there's a lot I'm interested to see about the Boston Celtics.
They didn't send him away. He left.
Well,
right.
But left with a bye-bye, with a wave, right?
Look, this is $28 million on average for Jaylen Brown. You have to project Jayson Tatum gets a max when his time is up. The Celtics had a dream a year ago that was Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and whoever is left over that they don't trade for Anthony Davis. That was their team, and it was plausible. Mm-hmm. It was maybe more than plausible. Now their team looks very different, and long term, it's the two Jays and Kemba for another couple of years, and the two Jays better be really, really good.
What's their biggest weakness, Zach?
Right now, it's the big man rotation because they have a bunch of centers and one power forward in Grant Williams who's a rookie, and they have to figure that out, and they're going to play small all the time. But right now for this season, it's the big man rotation.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.